quite an introduction, Mark. Thank you. One word. You're not paid by the word, that's for sure. I'm in Chicago. I love Chicago. I mean, I'm a Wisconsin guy. I don't know if there are any Wisconsin people here. I born in Milwaukee, went to camp in Wisconsin, went to college at Wisconsin, spent my life tortured by Chicago. Tortured. Literally tortured by Chicago. Until 2003, when I got to torture you, which was fun. I don't know if any of you were alive. I met someone recently who wasn't even alive in 2003, which really pissed me off, actually. To me, it's very recent. By the way, we are live, so here's how this works. You don't have to laugh. You don't have to participate, though there'll be a time for you to participate. You can heckle. You can not. You can do anything you want because Coca, the producer, is going to do whatever he wants with this show, and then it's going to be released. So there will be many, many tens of thousands of people watching this, which is cool. And so don't feel pressured into enjoying it. You can get up and leave whenever you want. You can eat. You can drink. Do whatever you want. It does not matter to me. But it'd be nice if you participated. So before I start, I wanted to mention a few things about what we do, why I'm here, how this works. There's someone named Mike Dorf who owns City Winery, and Mike Dorf is a Milwaukee guy. And for any Milwaukee people here, you may know that name. And Mark Stein, who is the world's greatest individual, who's here in this room somewhere, he is a promoter. He's basically the CEO of everything that he touches, and he touches a lot of things. And so he wanted to know whether I would go on tour, and he did this deal where I've been going to city wineries in different cities, and we've been doing these live shows, and it's super fun. But I was looking forward to Chicago more than any other city, because Chicago, I owe much of the second, actually 2 parts of my career. I started after law school delivering newspapers in Europe, and then I went to Wall Street, and then I was in baseball for 18 years. And obviously this ring is really courtesy of Dusty Baker being the worst manager ever right here. Without you, Dusty, I'm nobody. I mean, the way he abused your pitching staff, my God. We were sitting, sorry, Coco, by the way, Coco's not even here. So what Coca does during shows is he is in my ear telling me, like, hurry up or move on, or he'll remind me where I am because I get off track all the time. So I need someone in the audience to pretend you're Coca, and if I'm off track or I can't remember, just sort of remind me where I am, tell me to move on. And if something happens during the show, and it happened during a few of the live shows where major things happened. Today, a bunch of stuff happened in Chicago, which I can't wait to talk about. More taxpayers getting screwed just left and right in this city, which is, you guys are the best. I mean, it's a content fountain, the way you don't even know it. You just go along your merry old way, stuck in traffic, and you're getting fleeced. And I would know, I'm a fleecer. I mean, some people just make it easy. I don't know what I was talking about. It's happening again. I had deep dish pizza when I got off the plane today. Not my greatest move. Thank you very much for a working bathroom in the green room. A few of the cities didn't have working bathrooms. This one does. I don't understand why you go to a deep dish pizza place, you order, and then they say it's 45 minutes from when you order. 45 minutes. I think it's for them to push appetizers or something. It drove me insane because I needed to get here. Anyway. Chicago. Were we talking about Chicago? Content? Why? Oh, I know. So I was at Morgan Stanley on Wall Street, and then I got into baseball. And baseball, Dusty Baker. That's what I was talking about. God, does he suck. So in 2003, which is before some of you were born, sadly, Dusty Baker was the manager for a team called the Chicago Cubs. And at that time, the Cubs hadn't won a thing, nothing. And they were really good. They had these really good pitchers named Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, Carlos Zambrano. But Dusty Baker would pitch them until their arms came off. It was insane. So in 2003, the semifinals are called the League Championship Series. And Mark Pryor was pitching in Game 6 for you guys to go to your first World Series. And everyone was ready. Everyone was sure the Cubs were going to make it. Maybe they were going to go against the Yankees or the Red Sox. But it was the biggest story in baseball. The commissioner wanted the Cubs to win. Everybody wanted the Cubs to win, except for us, the Marlins. We could literally have given a shit about the Cubs. We wanted to torture the Cubs. That's it. And so Mark Pryor in Game 2, maybe, you can check the box score. The Cubs were crushing us. And Mark Pryor was pitching. He kept pitching. And there was no reason for him to be in the game. And he had like over 110 pitches, some ridiculous amount when it didn't matter. And we took note of that at the time, saying, you know, this is pure Dusty. He's going to run out of gas. So we go to Game 6, and Mark Pryor is shoving it. And we're losing. And I'm at Wrigley Field, and I'm in the clubhouse in the 8th inning, in between the 7th and 8th inning. And it was after the bottom of the 7th. I go to the clubhouse, and I'm practicing a speech. And I don't use notes, never to address the team, never to address anybody. I don't use notes. I have, you know, little big things here, but I don't really have a teleprompter when we do nothing personal. It's 50 minutes off the top of my head every single day. And you wonder why I hear voices. And I have made so many therapists rich. I mean, I always know when they're going on vacation because they want me to do 2-a-days. And it never seems to be enough. And it's okay. I'm fine. I'm really not, but it's fine. So I talk into an abyss every day. So anyway, I'm practicing the speech. Hey, guys, great season. Everything's fantastic. I'm proud of you, even though we were so close and I didn't want to lose. But I thought we were on borrowed time because we had beaten the Barry Bonds and the Giants in the first round. So it was pretty unexpected. There may be our team psychologist may be in this room. Is Jeff Fishbein in this room by chance? He may not be. Fishy. Hi, Fishy. Jeff Fishbein and I went to college together. Madison, 2 idiots in college. He's now one of the most successful sports psychologists in the country. And he and I worked together for over a decade, and we never, ever dreamt that we would ever do it. And we did it. I love you, Fishy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your help, by the way. Fishy helped me a lot. I mean, it's when you're president of a team, you're counting on, it's like being a CEO, and you have to always act like you're together. It's not like now when having mental health issues is sort of okay and cool. Back in the old days, you had to pretend you didn't. You'd be better off, not being able to. I would limp every time I thought I was having mental health issues. So people would say, how you doing? I said, I got a leg problem. Fishy, I need you. He was like speed dial before we had speed dial, those big brick phones. I think I had one number in my phone. And Fishy would say, no, I'm helping like a player. I said, no, I don't care. They're fungible. Help me. We'll get rid of that guy. Tell me, who are you helping? Sammy, I can't tell you. We're best friends. Who are you helping? I can't tell you. Fishy, I want to release the guy. I look back on that. I was such an asshole. But I didn't care. I really didn't care about mental health issues except for my own. It didn't occur to me that players... It's like I didn't even care when we had a player with a back problem because I never had back problems. So it didn't occur to me that it would stop him from swinging. I would say, just get out and do your job. And then I hurt my back running a marathon, and I called up Christian Yelich, and I said, dude, I'm sorry. That's a true story. You really don't know what's going on. One of the things in today's world, I'm sorry, we haven't even started the show yet, but this just occurred to me. Where's the mute button? Damn it. One of the things about today's world is that we all assume, because we're on social media, and we just assume that everyone's right, and you have to actually say when you're not right, and then you get sort of some sympathy. I'm having mental health issues, so athletes now are able to do it in a way they never were able to do it. Physical injuries have always been different because we announce that. We announce a hamstring strain. Of course, we lie to you all the time, but we announce what we want to announce and what we want to tell you. But like when teams tell you, we couldn't get an MRI till tomorrow, they're full of shit. We get them that day, that night. We don't wait online. We don't go to the waiting room. We don't get appointments. We don't do any of that. We don't wait for the radiologist to read it. It's such horse hockey. We get it that second. But then we decide when we're going to tell fans. And of course, baseball people always say, let's not tell anyone when there's a bullpen arm not available, like we're holding the state secrets to nuclear codes or a Middle East peace. We can't tell them that Chapman's not available. Oh, okay. You know, we keep it on a piece of paper. It's very funny. We have a piece of paper that the manager has, and we get a copy of it, and we have it up in the suite where we watch games. This was not part of the show, but here you go. We haven't even started. Screw it. We get a list of the pitchers who were not available, and we talk about it before the game, who's available, who's not. So we have everything scripted. So when you want to yell at your manager for making a pitching change you're not happy with, or you want to yell at a pinch hitter, we've gone through every scenario before the game. Now, once in a while, something will come up, but it happens maybe 10 times out of 162 because that's how detailed we go. And this was really pre-analytic nerds running the game. We would just sit in the office for 5 hours and write down every scenario of what would happen and what we want to do and what pitchers are available. And the old school baseball people, like the Moneyball people, if you've ever seen the movie Moneyball, anyone seen Moneyball? It is absolute wrong. It's a movie. It's totally fantasy. It's as close to reality as Brad Pitt looking like Billy Bean. That's about how close Moneyball is to reality. Go back and watch it if you're a fan of baseball and tell me the number of times they mention their rotation of Mulder, Hudson, Zito, or the MVP, Miguel Tejada. Tell me how many times they mentioned that on that Oakland A's team. No, it was Scott Hatterberg. It's like a joke. His name never even came up in conversation. It's so funny. Why are we talking about Moneyball? Oh, Dusty Baker. So I'm doing the speech. Yes. Love you, man. I can't even see you, but I love you. And I can say that. Yeah, I couldn't tell players I loved them back in the day. That was another thing, mental health and homophobia. Very, very big. Not a lot of I love yous. It was just a lot of fist bumps and chest bumps, and you had to pretend you weren't looking at everyone's naked ass or everyone's in the clubhouse naked. That was my first experience with a lot of nakedness. I was not debate people generally don't shower together. So that was new to me, like, what? Now I get it. Mom, what'd you do to me? Son, you're Jewish. Okay. I had a GM, a black GM. His name is Mike Hill. He's still in baseball. And we would speak Yiddish because we had a pretty Jewish front office. And so he would speak Yiddish too. But he would always make sure whenever he said a Yiddish word, by the way, I'm only Jewish from the waist up. He would always say that, like in front of me, like, dude, we get it, all right, Mike? But he'd say this to strangers, which I thought was weird. Now, of course, we'd get sued, but we'd win. Yes, we would win. We'd lawyer you to death until you ran out of money. I did that math equation a lot. So, Dusty Baker, I'm doing the speech. All right, we'll start in a minute. I'm doing the speech. I'm getting ready. Mike Redman, who became a manager of mine later, I went through managers the way most people go through underwear. It's always better to fire the manager. I don't want to fire myself, right? I don't want the owner to think I had anything to do with it. Why do we suck? The manager sucks, that's why. I thought the manager sucked last time. He still sucks. The next one sucks too. That's what we did. We just fired managers all the time. Hey, you're in a hitting slump? We're going to fire the manager. If we could get rid of all the players, we would. We just couldn't find anyone to take our overpaid guys who were underperforming. Yes, that's why I'm not in the business anymore. 18 years. So I'm doing the speech, getting ready. Mike Redman walks in, and he said, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, are you getting ready to talk to us about losing? Get your ass out there. We're going to win this game. He said that, and he'll tell you the story, though he doesn't talk to me anymore, which is weird. I don't have my phone with me. I still text him every day on his birthday. And his wife always responds, TY. He doesn't respond at all. For whatever reason, the guys I've fired do not respond to my birthday texts. I don't know why. Mark Burley doesn't either. Do you guys know Mark Burley? White Sox? Yeah, the White Sox are good. We're going to get to them. God, and work for Reinsdorf? I would sooner work for Loria again than work for Reinsdorf. I'm just kidding, Jeffrey. Jerry Reinsdorf met me when I was a kid at Knick games. He owned the Bulls. I don't know if any of you have heard this story. If you're fans of Le Batard, I told this on Le Batard once. Are there any Le Batard fans out here? So this was a COVID episode when I told this story to Mike Ryan, so I'll be quick about it in case you've heard it. Although the audience is so new now, so for all the people watching, you haven't heard this, and for the rest of you, whatever. I sat 2 rows behind Reinsdorf, and I would yell constantly at Jerry Krause. I was a huge heckler, huge heckler, but not like a swearing guy. I never got thrown out. I would never swear. I was the kind of nerdy heckler who would talk about player contracts and yell at owners for overpaying players. That was me, and it drove Reinsdorf crazy. And he came up once. He didn't know at the time that he would be in the same ownership fraternity as my stepfather at the time. Yes, I'm president of a team because of nepotism. Totally fine with that. Totally fine. By the way, if you're not a fan of nepotism, it's because you've never engaged in it. And the thing about nepotism is that it can get you in the door, but it doesn't keep you in the door. So that's an important point. I never would have been the president of a team without nepotism, but I never would have been the president of a team for 18 years if I weren't good. And I say that with all humility because my teams always sucked. But what could I do? We had a low payroll. We had no money. It happened again. Are we still on Dusty Baker? Is that possible? We're still on Dusty. So anyway, we go out there, and Mark Pryor is pitching, and he ran out of gas, and we end up scoring 8 runs, and you all blamed a guy named Steve Bartman. Steve Bartman is a guy who tried to catch a foul ball that Moises Alou would tell you because his father is another manager I fired. Yes, Felipe Alou. That was a fun one. Here's a quick Felipe Alou story. Oh, this is good. Felipe, can you come up to my office, please? Why? I can't do his accent. I'm terrible at that. Why? So he just had a grovelly, grumpy voice. And I just said, could you just come up? And I rarely would call him. He comes up in full uniform. And he like comes up with the clicking of his spikes. Dude, you're not playing anymore. But he comes up, he clicks. He walks into the office. I can't say a word. And he produces, at that time, we had a card to get into the clubhouse, like a key card. He puts his key card down. He puts a pack of season tickets because he got season tickets under his contract. And he puts that night's lineup on the table. He puts it down, and he walks out of the door. It's the greatest firing ever. I was like, Felipe, by the way, you're fired. Sorry. Thanks for bringing all your stuff, and now we don't have to bring security. So anyway, his son would tell you that he couldn't have caught that ball. And you all blamed Bartman, which is the strangest thing because I don't understand how it works when people get something in their mind. And this happens in the sports world, it happens in the business world. You all read something or you experience something, and then the truth somehow disappears. And the truth is that you had a shortstop named Alex Gonzalez who had a huge error in that inning. The truth is Mark Pryor ran out of gas and was throwing meatballs. The truth is Kyle Farnsworth hadn't started steroids yet and sucked that game. If you know, you know. Go Google right now. If there's any service in this, go look at Kyle Farnsworth now. Google him right now. I won't be upset. I won't be distracted. It is hysterical. He started being one of those bodybuilders. And there's a picture of him in like a Speedo. I don't know why you have to. I mean, I guess they want to show you their things that are right next to the things. I don't know why. Everyone's got to wear a Speedo when you're a bodybuilder. It's so strange. Okay. All right. On that note, anyway, we won that game. And then people think it's Bartman's fault, but you had the lead in Game 7. Your pitcher, Kerry Wood, hit a home run to take the lead in Game 7, and you still blew the game. After that game, a bunch of you were crying. It was so great. Now you've won a World Series, so you don't care anymore, I bet. Did you think you'd win more than just 2016? Did you think that when you won one, or you were just happy to win one, you felt good? I can see you in the front row, but that's it. I can't see. You believed in Theo? Well, there you go. Theo. I could tell you some Theo stories. He's got the best. He and Jeter have the best PR in baseball. They have the best PR. Somehow Derek Jeter comes off as this amazing guy. Not. Just not. Somehow Derek G's just a moron. I mean, He tried to seduce me into selling the team for a lower price. Dude, do I look like Minka Kelly? Like, not even from the waist up. Don't care. How about more drinks, David? Nope, don't care. Happy to get drunk with you, Derek. It's still $1.2 billion, and you're going to overpay, and then you're going to suck at your job and be despondent and get fired. I told him that. I actually told him, you're not going to survive 5 years running a team because you're a shortstop. That would have been a great moment. I should have walked into the clubhouse one day and said, hi, I'm in the lineup today. That's the equivalent of him saying, hi, I'm in your office today. Go look at Jeter's first picture as CEO and president of the Marlins. You will laugh if you look at it. I'm going to reach into my right-hand pocket. I carry around sanitizer because all of you have germs. But I will pretend I don't mind shaking your hands, but trust me, I will be washing my hands because I know what you do with your hands because I know what I do with mine, and it ain't great. So there is a picture of Derek Jeter. If you Google his first ever picture, he's in my office that I built at Marlins Park that I designed just for me, and he forgot. He cleared out everything. It's like I didn't exist, but he left the hand sanitizer machine. So there's a picture of him in an empty office with a huge vat of hand sanitizer. And then someone pointed it out to him, and he had it destroyed. It's funny. An idiot. Okay, so we're going to start now. Here we go. Ready? 3, 4, 8, 69. Second City. That's 4869. Second City. That's the nothing personal word of the day. Today is July 5th, 2024. Can you give me a minute? This is airing on July 5th. Seriously. Can you just eat your pizza and drink your beer, please? Think I don't know the fucking date? Second City. That's the nothing personal word of the day for July 1st, 2024. Can we talk about Craig Counsell? Are there any Brewer fans here? Brewer fans, some Milwaukee people? I love Milwaukee. Did you bring cops by chance? So Craig Counsell gets hired by the Cubs, and everyone got upset in Milwaukee, which I love, because now the Brewers are in first place, the Cubs are not. And now I wonder where the Brewers fans are like, hey, look, it was never you. So when Craig Counsell comes back, and he's always, when he's interviewed, he always does the same thing. I still live in Milwaukee. I consider myself a Milwaukeean. I understand why they're upset, but this was something I had to do, $8 million a year. This was something that was so critically important. Whatever. The thing about him joining the Cubs when he joined the Cubs is that you all thought it was sloppy. And so I wanted to tell you about how it works when managerial changes happen like that, when you were concerned that maybe David Ross wasn't aware. You may have felt badly for him because he may not have been aware. Most managers are very aware because we purposely will leak when we're talking to managers or meeting with other candidates. We will let it be known through different circles that we're making a managerial change, but we're going to wait. Managerial changes are best done when you're facing a shitty pitcher the next day because you want the new manager's first game, if it's in season, to be when you can win a game. That's like team meetings. When teams have meetings, pay attention to when they are. You never do a team meeting when you're facing the other team's ace the next day. You always do a team meeting when you're facing the number 4 or 5 starter. That makes the most sense, obviously, because you want to win the game after a team meeting. Managerial in-season changes are the same. But off-season, all bets are off. And so when the Cubs had an opportunity, what they'll tell you is, and what their line, it's quite funny, and this is Jed's line. I think Jed is going to be competing for speaking appearances soon, but we can talk about that another time. I'm just kidding. Not really. You think Ricketts will get rid of himself? What about Ricketts? Do you guys like him? I mean, you guys have some owners here. I was thinking about that. You got Reinsdorf, who you should love as a Bulls owner. even though you probably don't because it's been so long, and maybe you're upset about DeMar Rosen or upset about the fact that they haven't won since before some of you were born, but you've got 6 rings. I don't want to hear a word. You've got a World Series ring from Reinsdorf as well. That's 7 rings. The Blackhawks have won a cup or 2. The White Sox won a World Series in 2005. That's pretty good with Ozzy. Sorry. I love you, Ozzy. You know I do, but you ruined it, man. You ruined it, and you told me you would. We hired Ozzie Guillen. We gave him a 4-year deal. Can you imagine going to an interview? I have a suggestion for all of you when you go to job interviews. Here's what not to say. You're about to overpay me. Ozzie said that. He looked me across, and the deal was already done because our owner did a deal with Ozzie, gave him 4 years, $10 million. Ozzie interviews with me and the GM at the time and said, hey, and we knew Ozzie was the third base coach when we won the World Series. He said, you know, I can't even imitate him, but just pretend I can't speak English correctly. And I don't mean because of an accent, I mean grammar. And you know, I'm not going to last 4 years. Little did I know, stranger than fiction, Dustin Hoffman, that he just was terrible. And he didn't tell us that he did an entire article about Fidel Castro being like best friends with Fidel Castro. It's like going into a party for Democrats wearing a MAGA hat. I mean, it's the one thing you don't do in Miami. I got 2 rules when I moved from Montreal to Miami. I was told 2 things only. That's it. 1, the difference between Miami and Fort Lauderdale is major. If you're from Fort Lauderdale, you're not allowed to say you're from Miami. It's a big deal. Wayne Huizenga, rest in peace, although he won't. But he said that he's buying hell right now. I can promise you that. And then splitting it for parts. So, and I'm only laughing because it's just a matter of which part I'm going to see him in. And that's my ultimate hell, isn't it? Like needing to be around Wayne Huizenga for the rest of time. Anyway, first time I met Wayne Huizenga, he had us pray. I said, Wayne, I'm Jewish. He said, okay. And we still had to pray. He didn't care. He said, you know, the line between Miami and Broward, you can see it from space. That's the first lesson of Miami. The second lesson is you don't talk about Castro. You do not talk about Fidel Castro. You don't say you like him. You don't say you love him. You have to despise him. But it's better if you're white, which I was, to just not talk about him. Now, the other thing that you learn, and I went to a school that was 107% white and Jewish. The other thing that you learn is that there's no such thing as Hispanic marketing. When you're in Miami, I thought that I was very forward. I started like a Hispanic marketing department thinking, look at me go. It turns out that it's totally different. Dominicans and Cubans and Venezuelans and Mexicans, it's all different. You need different departments to understand how to market. Of course, I learned that, and then we started that, and then we drew 4,000 people instead of 3,000 people. So it totally worked great. But Ozzie Guillen gave this interview about Castro where he said how much he respected him and loved him, and I was in the middle of hosting a Seder, which is the Last Supper. I was literally doing it, and I thought I was so important then. I had my phone with me at the Seder. You wonder why I'm divorced. And I got a call, a call from my head of PR, who said we had a very easy way to communicate. 911 is I don't care what you're doing. Like something's happened. And we learned early on, 911 is not a DWI. I'll get to it. Right? 911 means like something really bad happened. So I get a 911 text during the Seder, which means we're going to have Elijah wait just another second or 2. God, there's a lot of Jews in the audience. I love it. That one never lands. It's amazing. Thank you. So I get up from the table and I go to the other room and I am sent an article. And I had to leave the Seder because we immediately had to do a statement. We had to get to the office and we had to figure out what we were going to do because we were also being filmed at that time by Showtime, a show called The Franchise. And so anytime something happened, we had to get it on film. And we made a commitment to Showtime that we were going to do everything once. The other shows that you watch, like Hard Knocks and the other franchise seasons, a lot of stuff is staged. I don't want to say anything because you shouldn't know that because they'll get upset. But we did everything live. So every time you saw, like when we suspended Ozzie Guillen that year, we did it live in one take with cameras right there. It's sort of not like Survivor, actually. And yes, I was on Survivor for 3 days. I had a very simple thing this is not even in the show, but I had a very simple message for Jeff Probst when I was interviewing and being cast. I said, I either want to win or lose quickly because I don't want to finish in like fourth because that's ridiculous. Either get me out or let me win. And he said, I don't think you're going to win. I said, I think I'm going to win, but if not, we'll see. So he obviously knew what the season was, and he didn't tell me in advance because why would they do that? So we get on the island in the Philippines, and they dressed me like Thurston Howell. I had a blazer on, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, that's weird that I'm wearing an ascot and a blazer and a button-down shirt, and that chick over there is in a bikini. Like, what am I missing here? And that looks like Cliff frickin' Robinson. What's going on over there? So we get on the beach, and he announces it's bronze. I look around, okay, and this is real time. I'm thinking no, that's not me. Beauty, maybe. And brains. I'm like, oh, shit. They had told me that I got the highest score of anyone who had taken the IQ test for Survivor at that time, and that you can't win if you get the highest score. Of course, it turns out that's like being the tallest midget, but it doesn't matter. I still was impressed. So I knew I was losing right out of the gate the minute we were the Brains tribe, and the minute I was the leader in my blazer, schwitzing to death on an island, pretending I wasn't. Oh, no, this is exactly what I'd wear to a deserted island, a blazer. Like, I get that from so many of you. Do you really think I'm that stupid that I would wear a blazer to an island? Like, what? I don't know why we were talking about that. So I just want to mention about the managerial change if you're anyway, so Ozzie Guillen was a disaster, but he won you a World Series. Craig Counsell is not a disaster because the Cubs aren't winning. He's the same manager he was with the Brewers. Here's the big difference. The Cubs players stink. That's the difference. Managers don't make bad teams good. They don't even make good teams great. I'm sorry to tell you, they also don't make great teams good or good teams bad. Manager's job is to work up to the front office and down to the clubhouse. They are babysitters of both. They are intermediaries. Their communication skills are critical. Every time you see a manager doing this in the dugout, they're looking at restaurants to eat. It's not even their job. The majority of managers, when you watch them on TV, they're picking shit out of their teeth, like sunflower seeds. And I don't understand. I tried to change baseball. I couldn't get anybody to agree with me. I don't understand what other world you just throw stuff on the floor. I hated that. I'm a very messy, I'm a very clean guy, totally OCD. It makes everyone crazy. I'm in a relationship now, which is not going well because she's a mess. It's untenable. It's untenable. Why is it hard to have a one-touch rule? Explain that to me. Now, granted, I'm not good at relationships. I'm good at short relationships, but not good at long ones, despite all evidence to my first contrary. But the one-touch rule, why do you take clothes off and put them on the floor and then take them from the floor and put them in the hamper? That's 2 touches. 1 touch, take them off, put them in the hamper. Explain it to me, and then explain to me why you can't learn. It's got to be an intelligence thing, which causes a fight. What else could it be? Is it just to piss me off? Just, by the way, I will wash your bras with my dark shirts. The Ricketts family, they're good. Can we talk about the Ricketts family just for a quick sec? They're funny. The Ricketts family, they were going to buy Chelsea. Remember when the Ricketts family was going to buy Chelsea? Chelsea, that soccer team or that football team, where Todd Boehly, the owner of the Dodgers, now owns them. And Tom Ricketts made a big deal saying that he was going to fly over to Chelsea to meet the supporters. Very important. Like he gives a flying rat's pituitary gland about any of the supporters of Chelsea or of the Cubs. Now, they'll all pretend that they care about you. That's what owners do. We're told, we get a handbook when we join sports. When you win something, thank the fans first. You cross your toes, you cross your fingers, you thank the fans. No owners really want to do that. They don't care. And I don't say that meanly. I don't want you to be upset about it. I'm just trying to be real with you. And sometimes Coca gets upset because people don't want to really hear so much under the kimono. But it really is true. It's a business where we believe the product we're doing is so good that you're going to engage with it. You're going to do it no matter how much we torture you. And Cubs are the perfect example. You're tortured for generations, frickin' centuries, and it didn't matter. You win a World Series in 16, they break up the team, which, by the way, I'll argue till I'm blue in the face was the right move. Theo bails on you, and he still, could run for governor here. It's funny to me. So Ricketts goes to Chelsea. He meets with supporters. He doesn't end up getting the team. It's sort of like what Ricketts did when he came to Chicago and took over the team. It was a very big deal back then. He made a point to make sure that you all felt engaged and loved. And are there any rooftop owners here in the crowd? Anybody who's ever watched games from the rooftop? Have you ever? It's fun, right? It's only fun when you're paying the Cubs. There's a bunch of lawsuits going on right now. We don't want you to know about our lawsuits. We sue everyone who doesn't pay us because we want your money. And the reason we want your money is that anytime you're in the business of sales, and that's what we're in the business of, the product is the players, the event is the game, the tickets are the item, that's the consideration, you buy a ticket. We don't want to give you anything for free. It's sort of like with the new TV deals. I like that, where Bally's is bankrupt. That's a TV network. Don't worry about it, except owners are now taking their games over the air. And what they're saying is, we're doing this because we want to get our games to our fans. It's so funny. Really? Why didn't you do it when they were paying you on cable $30 million a year? No, but now they want to get the games to you. So Ricketts is suing a bunch of rooftop owners. Just like we would sue corporate sponsors who don't pay your bills. We would sue season ticket holders who sign a contract and don't pay. And our PR people would come up to us all the time and say, you sure you want to do this? And I'd say, yeah, I don't care. They got something and they didn't pay their bill. And we can't cut off their electric. We can't stop giving them. They already got. And so Ricketts is now suing a bunch of rooftop owners because they're not paying the Cubs anymore. They decided that they no longer wanted to pay the license fee to Ricketts. And in the lawsuit, it specifically states they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, to which normal people would say, why does that matter? Their team is worth $6 billion. Who cares about the hundreds of thousands of dollars? And the answer is, that's how you get an asset worth billions of dollars. You care about the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so it makes perfect sense from a business standpoint. From a PR standpoint, it's rough. So what the Cubs did in the lawsuit, and I want to make sure I get this right because it's good. Quote, there is no public right. God damn it. Excuse me 1 second. Apparently 18 is not enough. There is no public right to a live Cubs game or its broadcast. At great expense, the Cubs control the Cubs team and Wrigley Field to create the live game that these people seek to profit from. Yet, instead of paying for the right to profit from the Cubs' property rights, they seek to take and sell the Cubs' property, wait for it, this is when it gets good, for their sole, unjust economic gain without a license from the Cubs. Any lawyers out here? Any lawyers? There's got to be. There's no lawyers. There's got to be. Are you just afraid to clap? Is that really funny? Is that how bad it is? I didn't ask if you support Trump. I just said, are you a lawyer? I mean, you can clap if you're a lawyer. Okay. How do you feel about that? The rooftop people decided they didn't want to pay the Cubs a license, but they're charging people to come watch the game without paying the Cubs, and everyone else who has rooftops has to pay a licensing fee. Does that seem fair to you? It's horse hockey. Thank you. Wait to see when I tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. I'm not. You know, these guys are getting paid. So Stephen A. Smith asking for $25 million a year. offered $18 million. Stephen A. Smith, the king of like the hot take of stuff he doesn't give a flying rat's ass about. He really doesn't. He just wants to do hot takes, but no follow-up. People will give you, gambling's a big thing. I don't know if any of you gamble and you watch some of these shows where everyone does their picks. I do a pick also, but I keep track of my picks. I have a website called davidsamsonpodcast.com. I have every pick I've made. I have every wait to see. I have every movie I've ever reviewed. Because I want accountability. When I say something, if I'm wrong, I'm going to correct it. And I make mistakes all the time. And I correct them. But the majority of people on the air, the majority of politicians, they trade in false claims. Because they assume that you're all too stupid to care or know the difference. And it makes me insane. One thing that I promised, absolutely promised when I started Nothing Personal, is that I would always respect the audience in a way I never respected fans. And the reason is that you're giving me something way important than money, though tonight you're giving me money, which is amazing because I have this great deal with Mark Stein. He only gets 107%, which I thought was one of my great deals of all time. Is that Mark coughing over there? Are you coughing? Is that you? Are you over there? Okay, that is Mark coughing. Do you know why he's laughing? He's like my other guys. I get 110%. You should be happy. You got the Jewish discount. Thank you, Mark. You're the greatest. So, you distracted me. I didn't know where you were. You totally distracted me now. We were not talking about Dusty frickin' Baker. Rooftops. Oh, accountability. I found my way back. I landed the plane. I have accountability, which means when I say wait to see, the wait to see, if it doesn't work, I'll revisit it. So you're going to hear from this again. Guess who's going to win the lawsuit against the Cubs are filing against the guys who won't pay a license fee? Guess who's going to win? The Cubs. Wait to see. Cubs win that lawsuit. As they should. Something happened with the Bears today. You guys excited about the Bears? You excited about Caleb Williams? You are? Are you happy to have Caleb Williams instead of Justin Fields? You're like, this is the difference. This will be like the SNL skits again. We're going to get Chris Farley back and George Wendt. I wish we could get him back, and we're going to do a Bears thing. Caleb's going to lead us to the promised land. Well, you guys are trying to get a new stadium built. Well, not you guys specifically, but the people who run the Bears. And there's a lot of talk about will it be downtown, and deals are done downtown, but then they bought the property in Arlington, but then there was a fight with Arlington. You know what the Arlington fight was about? It was about money. Because it's always just about money. All we do when we're trying to build a new ballpark, and I did one in Miami, all we do is keep track. And it's not like we're like Brillantis. It's not a Mensa convention when owners get together. Trust me, it's not. It is far from it, right? It's a bunch of guys who are like pretending that they're cooler than everyone else because they own this asset that everyone wants to own until they own it. It's like all the people who want to get into sports. If I had a nickel for everyone who wanted to get into sports, I mean, it would be amazing because all of you want to get into sports until you see what it is and you realize it's just a job. It's a job like all of your jobs. The majority of people leave sports within a year or two because they thought they'd be hanging out with players or watching BP or meeting cool people. It's just work. It's sales. It's marketing. It's finance. It's accounts receivable. It's human resources. It's all the aggravation you have. The only difference is that what we do, for whatever reason, you all think you can do better than I can. That's the only difference. I don't pretend that I can do your job. Think about the idiocy of that statement. Like, I can't do what you do better than you do because you do it. You can't do what I do better than I can do it because I do it. It's not that I'm smarter. I just do what I do, just like you do what you do. But owners get together and they're thinking about new stadiums. The reason they want new stadiums is not for you, but we always say this. We want the fan experience to be improved. So we want to have $1 billion of renovations so you can have the experience that you deserve. We don't care. We meet with people that say, how much money can we charge for tickets if we put X dollars into a renovation, which means we put a coat of paint on, we have a different entry and exit, we buy new chairs, and then we charge you double. Will that work? And we'll do a bunch of studies, which are also ridiculous. If you're looking for money, I've got a business for you. Get into the economic study business, because it's all ridiculous. all the economic impact plans and economic feasibility studies and all the different things, time for the medicine, all the different things that go on, that's just a thing. It's fine. I'll do it after. It'll be fine. It'll be totally fine. It'll be totally fine. It'll be totally fine. It'll be totally fine. I don't need to take the medicine now. It'll be totally fine. It's totally fine. We're Central Time. That's the mistake I made. I thought I'd be done by now. Shit. Mark, I need 5 minutes. All right. So, economic impact study is very simple to do because we hired people to tell us that when we built a new ballpark, it'd be really good for the city of Miami. We knew it wouldn't. The city of Miami hired people to say a new ballpark wouldn't be good for the city of Miami. They knew that it wouldn't, but they knew they had to do a deal because otherwise the team would leave because we threatened that the team would leave even though we knew the team couldn't leave because we were making it up the whole time. That's the game that's played. That's the relocation game. It's a line game. It's a dance. That is what we do. And so we get partners, and you're partners with the politicians. But really, what we do with politicians is we put them in a position to give us exactly what we want, and we do it in a very simple way. And it's a way that can translate to your everyday life. The only way to get what you want from someone, and people ignore this for the strangest reason, is to tell them what you want. So often you make your partner guess, or you make your friend guess, your coworker, and then when they don't know exactly what you want, you get upset. It's so much easier to communicate it. Now, of course, the blind spot I have in my personal life is the size of the Grand Canyon, but professionally, it's very easy for me. I can communicate very simply what I want, and you tell the politicians. The Bears are doing the same thing. We would love to build a stadium in Arlington. We would love to build a stadium in Aurora. We would love to build a stadium in downtown Chicago. They don't care. They really don't. They're waiting for the best deal. And do you like when renderings are released? That's another trick we do. We release renderings to get you all excited, even though they're not real. Take a look at renderings and then take a look at the final building and then tell me if they're close. We had renderings for Marlins Park. The idiots in Miami didn't realize that we put trees there that were 70 stories tall. This fits in the neighborhood perfectly in Little Havana. No one will notice a retractable roof building. We've got trees that cover it. That's so stupid. Then we planted to save money because we did the landscape from Marlins Park. We did what your landscapers do. We put in like 2-foot nubs. Look, I can barely see. I'm sorry, it's so true. That was funny. The tree gate. We spent a lot of time doing the tree renderings. We were like Jim frickin' Ross. Put a tree right there, make it higher. Right there, just... No one knows who Jim Ross is. That's quite disappointing. Oh, it's Bob Ross. 1748-69, Coca. We would do Bob Ross and just put trees right here, just one extra. Jim Ross happens to be a sports executive. So Arlington announced today that they're going to give a break on property taxes. Aren't you happy? Because that's a big deal for you all, knowing that the Bears now are cutting a deal, which is possible for them in Arlington. But here's what's going to happen. The Bears and their president, Kevin Warren, fine guy. He is going to go with the Bears, and he's going to do a deal in Arlington to make sure that they get in writing that the property tax will be decreased, except what he's going to do is make sure that in the language for the property tax to be decreased, that it doesn't just necessarily apply to a stadium. Smart move, isn't that? Because then you don't have to build a stadium there, but they own the land, and they can get decreased property tax. And if the property tax doesn't get decreased, they just won't build in Arlington. They'll sell the land. What do they care? And then they'll figure out if they have to have Aurora compete against the city. Not like your state's ever going to give them money. But you've got Caleb Williams. Good luck. The Bears tell you, this is a good one, I have a note here. Every year lost to delays adds more than $150 million to the stadium cost. Made up. Totally made up. Just to pressure you, pressure politicians, make you think like it's really they're suffering. I'm talking major, major suffering. $150 million. Yeah, they did a study for that. $150 million. Jerry Reinsdorf is going to get a stadium. Do you know why? Because he told you that if not, he's going to die and then the team's going to be sold. I texted him. I don't have my phone with me. I texted him like, that's a good one, Jerry. And he wrote back like GFY. That's what he's claiming. He's like, you better give me the $1 billion now. If I die, what do I know what's going to happen? Like someone's going to move the team. Do it now. Okay. It's so good. It's so good. Reinsdorf hates me now. He hates me because I went public on your station, 670 The Score. I don't know if you listen to that. It's a great station. And I told the story of Jerry Reinsdorf telling me when I never told you the Reinsdorf story. Now we're getting somewhere. Reinsdorf comes up to me when I'm a kid, goes up to my stepfather at the time and says, by the way, shut that kid up. 1999, I walk into my first owners meeting as team president. Jerry Reinsdorf, I kid you not, looks at me and says, are you that effing kid from the Garden? And I said, yes, I am. That is my first time with Jerry. And he happens to be fantastic. I mean, in spurts. And so the thing is that he said, always finish in second place. Your fans will be happy because then, they'll think you're very close and you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. And it turns out that doesn't make you happy. And it turns out when I told the story, he denied it, did a whole release about denying it, raked me over the coals, and then he said it again. And now he wants $1 billion to build on the South Loop. Don't worry that your team is bad. The White Sox are very, very bad. They're so bad. They're so very bad. But don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's not going to get better. No, they could sell. It's not really Reinsdorf. Because any time that you've got Tony La Russa backing your team up, you're doing great. Can you imagine? This can't be real. Someone wrote this for me. I do my own stuff, actually. I wrote here that Scottie Pippen's ex-wife is screwing Michael Jordan's son. That can't be true. That's not true, is it? Not anymore? That can't be true. There's no way. That's a great story. I really hated the Bulls. You guys ruined it for me. I would sneak into the old Chicago Stadium when Fishy and I were in college because the Knicks were playing the Bulls. And I pretended back then it was, very little security, pre-9/11, everything's fine. And I would bring a camera and I would get credentialed, bless you. I would get credentialed. All it needs is a little bless you. It's a very little thing. I didn't hear anyone else say it. The guy sneezed. Just say bless you. It's not the end of the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I would sneak in and I got to sit where the photographers sat, right down on the court. Photographers used to sit on the floor. And I was always so uncomfortable, but I got to watch the Knicks Bulls up close. That's how I would go to games when I was in Madison. And it was the beginning of my life of getting things that I did not deserve. And believe me, look where I am now. Let's go to I'm going to review movies for you guys, if that's okay. Can I do that? Let's do the top 5 Chicago movies. Oh, this is a good list. Top 5. Now, I'm not going to mention Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Not in my top 5, but I will tell you that you have my favorite museum here, the Art Institute of Chicago. And every time I came here, and I came every time the Marlins played the Cubs or the White Sox, I would always go to the Art Institute because Seurat is my favorite artist. And this is before Ferris Bueller. I've always loved it's the Sunday afternoon on the island of the Grand Jatte. It's from Ferris Bueller, but it's really not. It's Seurat, and it's pointillism. And I want to tell you why I love pointillism. Pointillism is when you paint, not by numbers, you paint by points. Literally, it's dots on a canvas that you have to step away to know what it is. When you step forward, it looks like a bunch of dots. And my entire business life was informed by the Seurat that you have at the Art Institute. Because one of the great lessons I learned from Seurat is that if you can manufacture a situation where people need to step back in order to know what you're doing, the majority of people will never step back, and they will have no idea what they're looking at. They'll have no idea what they're doing. And I've found that in business, it's amazing. Of course, personally, it doesn't work at all. But from a business standpoint, it's phenomenal because everyone is right up close and they don't end up seeing the entire picture. So if you've got the ability to appreciate stepping back, believe me, you will succeed, depending on what your definition is. I'm not going to mention 8 Men Out either, because I don't want to talk about gambling, because we're sponsored by DraftKings. So hold on 1 second. Nothing Personal with David Samson, brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Thank you. Done. Number 5, a movie from 1986, starring Rob Lowe, Demi Moore. It's called About Last Night. If you have not seen it, watch it. The Belushi brother, not the one who overdosed, who I love and miss so terribly, John, it's Jim Belushi. At this point, we do not know. I live my life by saying that. Number 4, this will give you great insight into my personal life. I am number 4. I really am, and I don't regret saying that to you because I am. It's called The Breakup. I never understood why, if you tell me not to do the dishes, then you need me to do the dishes. This is what I go back to. Just be honest. Tell me what you want. I'm happy to do what you want. I'll go slower. I'll go faster. I'll go up. I'll go down. I don't care. Just tell me what you want. I'm not going to guess. I want you to want to go with me to the ballet, right? I watch The Breakup all the time. And this is one of the reasons why my first marriage failed, is that I took her to see War of the Roses the night before we got engaged. I did. That was what I did. I said, I want to just make sure we all know what we're up for. Turns out I was totally right, except I'm not dead. Number 3, The Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club is back in vogue right now. Back in vogue because of a new documentary on Hulu called Brats. Andrew McCarthy's a little bratty in the documentary. Seems a little sullen about the fact that he's in the brat pack, when the fact is it totally defined his career. But The Breakfast Club is brilliant. If you haven't watched it, it ages perfectly. It's about fitting in high school when it's very uncomfortable, and I loved it. Number 2, a little scene movie by Jim Belushi's brother, which is absolutely, without a doubt, in my top 100, which you'll also find on davidsamsonpodcast.com. It's called Continental Divide. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you're silent, and I don't care, because it's my list, not yours. And the number 1 movie for me that is a Chicago movie is a movie that only one person in this room knows me well enough to know what my number 1 movie would be. It's called Running Scared. Running Scared, no, not the Paul Walker one. Running Scared with Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. If you have not seen it, it is old. Now, I appreciate people in the room. Is anyone here born in the 2000s? So I appreciate that. I was born in 1968. And if I was told to see a movie from the 1940s, I'd say bugger off. So I get it. Because to you, these movies are like from the 1940s to me. So you would think, my God, this must be silent movie or black and white. Running Scared is one of the best movies. And it's my number 1 Chicago movie. And those are my top 5 Chicago movies. Who had Running Scared? Anybody? Anyone love that? Fish, you didn't know that was my number 1 movie? Okay. I know what part of the show we're at. This is an important part. Okay. So you want to talk to Samson. So You Want to Talk to Samson comes from a movie called Half Baked. Half Baked is a movie that's better seen fully baked. Don't see Half Baked 2, see the original Half Baked. And if you don't smoke, then fine. It's still funny, but way funnier if you're baked. Not too baked. You have to be not like when you're still climbing, wondering, oh my God, is this going to be bad? Not when you're coming down. You have to be flat when you know it's been good. Watch Half Baked. You will laugh. There's a character in there named Samson. And people ask him questions. So I do this on the show. People get on my Twitter at David P. Samson or Instagram or on the website, and they ask me questions. But during these live shows, I take questions from the audience. And so we're going to do that now, and I would like questions, and I will answer any question. Here's the rule. On any subject, no matter what you ask, I will answer it. All right, first question, and I'll repeat it because it'll end up being, you're going to get a microphone, I think, but I'm still going to repeat it for the audio part. I'm sorry?
What is the funniest example of when you cut somebody? Like it turned out to be kind of a amusing, very funny situation.
I mean, because it's funny to ruin people's lives and. You know, the question was, what's the funniest time I ever cut someone? I love that you know my sense of humor. I didn't mind cutting players. And I was always doing it because players get released all the time. I like helping people understand delusion. And athletes are really delusional. And it's funny because I'm not an athlete, I'm a runner. And I played pickleball the other day, maybe yesterday. I can't feel my legs or my gluteus maximus right now. I'm old. And to me, I have this thing that I'm going to show you, if you can see it. Oh, you can't really see it. It's sort of faded. It was a big bruise because I dove for a ball and it like hit me in the arm and face because I'm 56, but I thought I wasn't. So the players who are done, and when you release them, it's harder than the players who are young who never made it. The players who are young and aren't going to make it, it's much easier. It's like, yeah, you're one of the 99.9%. See you later. Good luck. Hey, we taught you how to be we taught you vocations in the Dominican. You guys don't get that, do you? Do you not get that? I'm going to explain it. You're going to love it. Teams do this all the time. Go Google it. It's fantastic. We've put $5 million into our Dominican Republic Academy, and we are teaching these 16-year-olds how to be teachers and plumbers and janitors. We're giving them English lessons. No, they're not. When they're not good enough to be players, we jettison them away back to wherever they were living. We don't follow up. We don't care. But we want to say it because we want you to think we're nice and good people. But it's not that are you not laughing because you think that, like, I'm mean? I'm sorry. You guys, you take care of everyone you come in contact with. When you hire someone at your job and then fire them, do you say, congratulations, Cobra? And then you follow up? Hey, how'd you do? How many times you tell people, hey, give me a call, I'll help you out? Come on. You think we're going to follow up on every 16-year-old who doesn't make it? Don't be ridiculous. So those are easy cuts. Easy. We don't have enough, and we always say we don't have enough visas for you. It's also a lie. We have enough visas for everyone we want. They just stink. We don't want to waste our money bringing them to Florida. It's really, really that simple. You know, Fishy, I'm sorry, but it's true. It's just true. Now, other players who we cut when we know they're going to come back, there's a very simple rule. There are certain players that go back and forth. It's called they have options. So they get sent to the minor leagues, and then they get brought up if there's an injury or there's lack of performance or somebody's tired. But the rule is you don't ever tell a player that they're going to come back. And the reason why you don't tell a player is you never know if they're going to come back. And if a player thinks he's going to come back, they go to the minor leagues and they pretend not to be injured. And then you call them back, and then they're injured, and then you have to pay them at their major league rate because they're on the major league injured list. And that's bad. Yeah, that is that's bad. So there's different ways that you cut people, but the funniest one was when we fired a pitching coach, and we had to chase him down because he wouldn't come in the office, and we chased him down. I once flew to Pittsburgh to fire someone at an airport. Like, I'll fly to you, just meet me at the airport because I ain't getting in an Uber. Why would I meet you at the airport? Dude, I'm coming more than halfway. I thought it was quite nice of me. Yes.
So where does it end with the salaries and ridiculous amount of money we pay athletes today?
So where does it end with the ridiculous amount of money we pay athletes? Do you remember when Magic Johnson signed for $25 million over 25 years? And we thought that was the most crazy contract ever. Kirby Puckett, $3 million a year. That's outrageous. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it never ends. So Jason Tatum signed a contract 4 days ago. Jason Tatum signed a contract today that is $314 million. Thank you. $314 million. Stay with me, folks. We only got 24 minutes left. You can do this. I swear to God, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. No breaks here. No intermission. And I got that one. Wait, is it July 1st? Just kidding. He signed for $315 million. 315 over 4. Is it over 5? 4? 315 over 5, over 4, $60 million a year. I think it's over 5. Get your facts straight, dude. $60 million a year. Do you know whether Jason Tatum is worth $60 million? I'll give you a big hint. The answer is no, but here's why he's getting that contract. because there's a salary cap and a salary floor. That's why all these stiffs keep getting John Koncak-like contracts, because the teams have to spend the money. And there's something called a super max deal. The reason why there's a super max deal in the collective bargaining agreement, and this is a little nugget that we don't talk about with collective bargaining agreements, the way we negotiate those, it's fabulous. The union is out to lunch. They are focused on the wrong stuff. They're focused on stuff that's good for players, like get me a chef, get me an extra day off, don't get me an afternoon game. Like, who cares? I mean, it's so stupid. We're like, okay, give us 4% off on your pension. That's worth about $400 million, we know, and they want a chef, which is like $60 a night. Trade? Yes, great, done. Sign it. I mean, that's how collective bargaining works, and I'm not trying to poo-poo Tony Clark, but it's not that hard. And so the NBA, these super max deals, they get a lot of attention. It's great PR. Jason Tatum making $60 million because he's on the All-NBA team. He's got MVP votes. He has all these things. It's this much of the union that gets that. The bigger focus should be for you all on the majority of the union. The majority of players in baseball don't even make arbitration. Forget free agency. Forget making enough money to live the rest of their life. And the majority of basketball players, it's the same thing. The majority of them don't make it. So when you go to collective bargaining, you do all these provisions that include supermax deals, which apply to it's like, have you ever heard, it's like a presidential candidate who would do things that really are good for the top quarter of 1%, and then pretend that it's good for everybody. That's the same concept. So the answer is those salaries are going to keep going up, but what you should focus on is where minimums are, and what you should really focus on, which players don't, which they should, is what benefits are, both while they're playing and then while they're not. It's Bobby Bonilla Day 4 days ago. Bobby Bonilla, deferred comp. Do you know why we defer comp? It's very simple. Why we defer comp today. We do that because we pay you, the player, less interest than we make by using your money that we're supposed to be giving you to play. The Wilpons, it was very simple what they did. They gave the money to Bernie Madoff. They're making 15% a year, and they pay Bonilla 3%. Bonilla walks around thinking he's God's gift to the earth because he just negotiated the greatest deal of all time. What a putz. It's an outstanding deal for owners until, of course, you're the subject of fraud and you go to prison and then die, and then you're screwed. But the majority of times you defer money, we would defer money at no interest, and the players were like, that'd be great. It's like forced savings. I used to love that. Players would say, oh, this is great. We had players who would have us wire money on payday into different accounts. They wanted money in like a savings account. Then they wanted money in a gambling account. Not that players ever gambled. And then we wanted... Do you think more players are gambling now because they're getting caught? Is that actually a thought that anyone has? It's the greatest thing ever what DraftKings and FanDuel are doing, and I'm up for renegotiation here in the end of this year. My contract runs out. So I would just like to point out... Hold on, I want to stand up for this. No, I don't. The reason why DraftKings is the greatest company in the world is that what they're doing is they are helping keep the integrity of the game pushing forward by helping leagues catch players who are gambling. Thank you. That's why the tickets weren't that expensive tonight. Yes.
My name is Wally. I'm from Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Hi, Wally.
Hi. Oh, hi, David.
Thank you.
I know you like that when we ask questions. I have two. One, can you speak on the Warriors and them trading Klay Thompson? And then secondly, what's the best mindset to have if you're starting a business?
So two questions, one about Klay Thompson and one about starting a business. What's the best mindset to starting a business? I'm going to start with that first and then go back to Klay Thompson, who was signed and then traded to the Mavericks. Actually, let me start with that because it's a funnier one. Start a business a little more serious. The hardest thing to do in life, and I got this from my grandfather, his name was Harry Samson, and he always said to me, the hardest thing is to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And I think he may have been talking about cards, but I think he was actually talking about business. He really was. And it is true. It's hard in your business to know when to expand. It's hard to know when to contract. It's hard to know, do we want to offer more products? You're always sort of tinkering around because if you're doing nothing, you're going backwards. It's always important to know that. Always be moving because you're either going up or going down. No one is staying where they are, even if they think they are. They pretend to be. They're generally going down. And it's hard with players because you so badly don't want to trade a player when they're good because you feel like, oh no. But the truth is what we then do is trade the players when they stink. So we tend to trade players at the low instead of the high. We tend to re-sign players based on emotion. The Warriors and Klay Thompson are a perfect example of that. Let's sign him. It's like Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, but Kobe Bryant, his last contract was a joke. He wasn't worth what he was paid. All these players who get these deals later in their careers, they're overpays because teams want to like reward them, or they just owners or get taken advantage of by their emotions. Klay Thompson is not a good player anymore. He's not worth $50 million over 3 years to the Dallas Mavericks or to the Golden State Warriors. He's simply not. And acknowledging that is a very hard thing to do. But I give the Warriors a ton of credit for letting them go. And I'm laughing at the new owner of the Mavericks, who is Miriam Adelson's, I mean, it really is her, but they pretend it's her son-in-law, but it's not. Miriam Adelson couldn't get approved, so they make it Patrick Dumont. Oh, we'll approve him. I'm sure Miriam never talks to him. Hey, Patrick, do this, do that, huh? Who are you? It's okay, mother-in-law. Hold on, let me check my pocket for loose change. Maybe I can pay Mark Cuban. Oh, it turns out I need your money too, Mom. I'm sorry. No one knows Miriam Adelson? Okay, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Miriam Adelson with the Mavericks traded for Klay Thompson. It's new owner-itis. New owners suffer from this all the time. They want it so badly. They think it's so easy. It's like Steve Cohen with the Mets. It frankly was like Ricketts with the Cubs. You just assume it's all going to happen, but it does not happen that quickly. So the Klay Thompson situation, the Warriors are in the right, the Mavs are in the wrong. Starting a business. I get a lot of questions about this, and I want to answer it because I've started one, bought and sold businesses, done a lot in my career. I was just joking before the show that I feel like I'm teeing off on 12 right now, which isn't bad, except for those of you teeing off on the front 9. And starting a business, you have to know 2 things, and that's it. You don't even need money, believe it or not. And it's not even that you need a good idea. So many people are in the idea business. Those are your friends who are like, I know how to get rich quick. I'm going to build blank, or I'm going to invent this. Those are the people who never do anything. The people who start businesses have 2 things, and they have clarity, total clarity of the 2 things. What and who. That's all you need. What you're doing and who is going to take advantage of that fact. That's all you need. What are you offering? What are you selling? What are you building? What are you doing? It's what. It's what. Who. Who are your customers? Are they customers? Are they other businesses? Are they people? And most people have no idea. They're in the idea generation business. I always like the idea, and I do this with everything that I do in life. Again, part of my personal problem is that I do this in almost every situation, which is absurd, but I do. Like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Who am I doing it for? And if the answer isn't for me, then I prefer not to do it, which makes me a selfish prick. But that's personal. Business, that's what. So when you're thinking of starting a business, what and who? No one will ask you that. A quick thing else that people will not realize is that all of you get jealous with people who don't work hard. And I've said this before on the show, but I want to say to this audience, just so you're clear, because I don't know the demographic here, but the majority of people don't work very hard, and the majority of people don't succeed, and you shouldn't be jealous of them. You should be thankful to them. So 20% of the people will always do 80% of the work, and your boss is always going to go to the 20% of the people, because what makes a good boss is to know who the 20% are and to know who the 80% are. And bosses ignore the 80% because they're not doing anything for them. And what bosses want is for you to do stuff for them to make them look better and not have to work as hard. So if you're getting stuff from your boss and you're like, I'm overworked, this is too much, that means you're good. And you want to be good. So don't be jealous when people next to you aren't working harder, they're on the internet, or they're screwing around, or you're working on a weekend. That means you're in the 20%, which is fine if you want to be there. There are people in the 80% who are happy to be in the 80%. The people I don't like are people in the 80 who think they're in the 20. That's very bad. God, I love Chicago.
So you're
Fishbone?
inexperienced.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Danny?
Yeah.
Hi. Are you really asking me to talk about Shohei Ohtani?
I'm not
Are you in business? Shohei Ohtani. I wonder whether he ever wondered why his interpreter was watching women's lacrosse. Hey, what are you watching tonight? Oh, I really like this field hockey game. Dude, who cares? I care. The relationship between an interpreter and a Japanese player is very close. Very, very, very close. Do I think there's a world in which Ohtani had no idea what was going on? There may be a world. It's just not this one. Do I think it's possible that Shohei Ohtani did not know that $16 million was missing from his checking account? Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Players have no idea. We had players who had no idea. Totally normal. We had a player, you know my Luis Castillo story. You love Luis. I love Luis. Who doesn't love Luis Castillo? He had $8 million of undeposited checks in his locker right below his Axe body spray. Oh, I thought that just by writing it, it was in my account. That's what he told me. I was like, Luis, you didn't deposit our check. He's like, Poppy, it's right here. I said, I know that. You have to bring it to the bank. He's like, Poppy, I signed it. That is a true story. I can't make it up. So the answer is, yeah, the players have people who pay their bills for them, totally normal. It's a terrible situation. The investigation found that Ohtani was not involved, that there was no gambling on baseball, and it was the fastest investigation in the history of investigations, the fastest plea of guilty of all time, and I felt like, personally, that I was watching Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery. I don't know, there's only 10% of you who got that. That's disappointing. Rising Sun is a movie. Japanese Pride. Harry. Okay. Who else has a question? Yes.
What is the most creative pitch that you made to a player to either get them extended or get them to come to the most creative?
Great question. The question is what's the most creative pitch? I don't know if you watch a great show called Pablo Torre Finds Out, but he released the video that was done for LeBron James to come to New York, which of course didn't work because those pitches are meaningless. We would have owners love it. Our owner wore a Jose Reyes Marlins jersey to meet Jose Reyes at 12:01 a.m. when free agency started in 2011 after the World Series, and thought that's why Jose Reyes signed with the Marlins. And we let him hold on to that feeling. What we didn't tell him is that we gave Jose an extra year and $14 more million. But no, he loved the jersey. Don't get me wrong. Players don't care. The Cubs do that. I always like that when they use the board, the board in front that's home of the, like Theo, I met with Joe Girardi for 9 hours. Joe Girardi was my manager. There is no frickin' way that Joe Girardi spent 9 hours with Theo unless they were watching like the Thornbirds. It's completely ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about for 9 hours? Joe, what would you do with a man on first and second, 1 out, down 3 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates in July? What would you do up 4-2 in games? Tell me your philosophy, Joe. It's so stupid. Home of the Cubs, welcome Joe Girardi. Let's get as many celebrities as possible to say that we really want this player, and you're going to love it here. And then we're going to take your wife with a real estate agent to look at homes because that's important too. It's not. They don't care. Players will say that because they think you want to hear it. Players will say, oh, we really like the school system in this town. Or they'll say, we like this minor league system. We love the coaching staff. We love the training room. We love the facilities. They were first-class facilities. And then we go to the public to get more money because we want to improve our spring training facilities or our regular season facilities because we think that the politicians will believe us when we say, listen, we got to be competitive. We got to be competitive with players. It's not how it works. If you offer a player the most money, they will play for you. That's it. There's no hometown discount. They don't care. They do not care. Oh, I really want to play for Phil Jackson. Whatever. It's ridiculous. What was the question again? Did someone ask about the most creative pitch? None. The most creative pitch, we faxed it to the agent. That was my creativity. Dear asswipe Boris, please find enclosed an offer of 5 years, $80 million for your crappy pitcher Wei-In Chen. Will he accept it? Beep, beep, beep. Oh my God. 5 years. Let's not say yes quite yet. No. What do you think? We use like Crayolas? Like little pictures? Hey, this was creative. We did do a creative thing with Carlos Delgado. It was a creative offer where I was the first one to do tax equalization in case he ever got traded away from the Marlins and he went to a town like New York with more taxes, that the New York would be forced to pay tax equalization payments. That was creative. That was a good one. So we overpaid and did tax equalization. So that was something. Mark Burley, no, nothing creative. Deferrals are not creative. You know, it's not. You just have to offer the most money. We could argue over discount rates. That's always fun to argue with players over discount rates. What? Yeah, no, we're using it 6%. What? Okay. No. What else? One more. Yes. How do I feel about the newly implemented rules in baseball? Can you be more specific? The pitch clock. Disengagements. Great. I'm all for disengagements. I would strongly suggest it for everyone in the room but two of you whose wedding I really had fun at recently. Everyone else, I would strongly suggest it. Sorry, what was the question? Okay. I was joking. I heard you. Thank you. I don't want to take up too much time repeating the question, which I'm going to repeat anyway, because you had no microphone. The question was, how do I feel about the new rules in baseball? I must tell you, I loved getting home at 1 a.m. for 18 years straight. It was great. Hey, look, it's a 4-hour game. Do you know who likes 4-hour games? Nobody. The players don't, the executives don't, the networks don't, the fans don't. Of course, you've got some people that say, oh, I don't mind, it's exciting. No, it's not. Oh, this is great, we're at an 18-inning game, and we stopped selling beer 4 hours ago. Way to go. I also don't get why I didn't get this passed. Another thing I failed at, being a president of a team, I wanted beer sales the entire game. What's the difference? Wrigleyville sells beers right after the game. Where you walk 10 steps and get a beer, why can't you keep getting beer from me? Where I can overcharge you for my water and cockroach infested beer lines. Don't drink out of a fountain if you know what's good for you. I have ever since I was in baseball, I will not drink out of a fountain or a tap. I do not. Europe is my jam. I don't even have to ask because everything's out of a bottle. But in America, you have to ask, and it's a nightmare because everyone's got a fountain. So I end up, even water comes out of the fountain, and I don't mean a water fountain, I mean the tubes thing. Just for fun, for those of you in the business, how often does City Winery clean the tubes? Just asking, throwing it out there. Every week? Every week? Judging by the bathroom, I'd say probably not. Just throwing it out there. Love you guys. You know I love you, Michael. I'm just saying you probably don't clean your tubes that often. I love the new rules because I love that the game is faster. I love the new rules. Disengagement's great. I want there to be immediate. I wanted no disengagements. I wanted 2 mound visits, not 4. I wanted there to be timeouts, not mound visits. I was on the competition committee where we started this. Just like we started expansion and realignment, there will be expansion in baseball. There's going to be realignment, significant realignment. There will be 32 teams in baseball as soon as Oakland is taken care of, which they're not, and Tampa, which they're not, and Arizona, which they're not, and Milwaukee, which maybe they're not or will be, and Chicago White Sox. Do you get where I'm going? We always say that we're waiting for stadium deals to be finished, but we're kidding. We're actually just waiting for the right time to expand. It's they, it's not we. That's a $1 fine. It used to be we, now it's they. The new rules have been great. I think baseball is a better game. I love soccer games. It's an hour and a half, and then you're gone. Like, that's good for me. So I do like the new rules. Okay. All right, one more. And then I got to do one more segment.
Did you ever ask Skipper about the 3x3 women's? You said you were going to talk to
So this is a fan. The question was, have I ever asked John Skipper, the former president of ESPN? I do a podcast with him called The Sporting Class. If you haven't watched it, you should check it out. Thank you. It's a really good show. And it would be better if John Skipper would ever tell you anything. Then it would be amazing. But he is, I love John, and the reason why he doesn't say a lot, and he does say more than most, but he doesn't say a lot because he does business with everybody, and he leaves that to me because I will always tell you all the secrets because I don't give a shit. I'm not getting back into baseball. What do I care? And so he started this league, 3-on-3 women's league. Women's sports is having a moment. It's fantastic. I'm happy for it. It has not manifested itself in any sort of increased franchise valuations. It's manifested itself in a few higher prices for a few events. But don't be seduced by the get-in prices. That's a bunch of PR. Get-in prices, $1,039 if you're a moron. That's what they leave out. So they don't tell you that. Caitlin Clark has been tremendous, but the biggest thing that you now know is that the NBA and WNBA did their media rights deals together. And the reason why they did them together is that the WNBA can't stand on its own. They can't sell media rights. The broadcasters don't want them. But John will tell you they do, but he's not buying them. If you ask John right now, would you buy them? At Metalark, no. ESPN, right? OPM. OPM, you may do a deal. OPM, other people's money? Maybe. Not your own. And this is not me poo-pooing women's sports. I'm just giving it to you straight, which is it's just not fully developed. And so the hope is over time it becomes that way. Over time it becomes a product that is worth more. But there's only one way to judge the value of something. And I'm sorry for all of you Wall Streeters. I know you. I've been you. Where you're doing spreadsheets and EBITDA, 3 times EBITDA, 4 times revenue. Poppycock. Something is worth what someone else will pay. That's it. It's really that simple. All of the stuff that people work till 2 a.m. doing, false hustle, it's eyewash. You want to sell something? Go out there and find out what the market is. Go find out. That's how you sell something. Thank you for that. That was great. Now, I'm ending with a quick thing about the Blackhawks, and this is important to me, which is, it's my show, so. Today, and I don't know if this will be on the show July 5th. It's possible Coco will cut this because it's going to be unpleasant, but I'm ending it in a serious note. The National Hockey League reinstated 3 people involved in the Chicago Blackhawks scandal from 2010, where one of the Blackhawks players was physically, sexually abused by a video coach. And the Blackhawks back in the day were told about it, and they completely ignored it. They were in the middle of a Stanley Cup run, and they ignored it. And they were culpable in that way. There's lawsuits going on. It's a major deal. And what I want to say about that, especially because it just happened today, and there was a statement by the NHL, a long statement that I'm not going to read to you, and it talked about what they've done in the interim period, all the progress they've made. It's like when anti-Semitic people meet with rabbis. They're all of a sudden not anti-Semitic. Or when you get caught cheating, you go to sex addict school, right? Or when you drink too much, you go to rehab. Or this is what people do. It's what they say. And some people change. The majority of people don't, which is disappointing. What's disappointing about the Blackhawks situation is it's what teams do. It's what I did. We never had anyone abusing anybody. So I'm not talking about that level. What I'm talking about is when problems were brought to me, HR issues, mental health issues, I ignored them, and I regret that. And the reason I ignored them is I thought it was getting in the way of what we were doing on the field, which is all that mattered to me because that was the what, and that was the who. The who didn't care what was going on behind closed doors. The who didn't care. You are the who, and generally you don't care. The what is always winning. And so the Blackhawks did what many, many people have done, what many teams have done, what many of us do in our lives. And I end the show by asking you this. Aren't we all better off when it comes to the issues that face us today? Politically, we're in a very important year, an election year. We're in the middle of major issues, economic issues, social issues. And people can say we always have this, but it just feels especially acute now. Wouldn't it be amazing if we were ever able to separate the what and the who of profitability, the what and the who of money, the what and the who of finance, and take a minute for the what and the who of a person? And I can't say that I do it as often as I should, and I admit it to you, but most people don't admit it to themselves. And the reason why they don't admit it to themselves is because it forces change. And change is actually the only way to improve. But if you never change, that means that you can continue to do the things that you do with reckless indifference toward the impact it has to other people around you, to other businesses, to other family members, to anybody. And so what I would ask when you're reading about the Blackhawks, when you're thinking about this show, when you're thinking about your everyday life, just think to yourself, is there something that I can look at slightly differently? And instead of just thinking what and who, maybe I can think about the person, the impact, the possibility. The Blackhawks didn't, and they weren't alone, and my hope is that people will now. Well, that's our show. I have to thank you so much. I appreciate, it means so much to me that you were all here. The fact that you take the time, I just have to cut. I have to say one thing for the video and audio. It's just business. This is nothing personal. Thank you. So I want to, I do not in any way take your time for granted. I don't take the hours that you give me per week, I do not take for granted. The interactions I don't take for granted. And I appreciate you. And I have learned that it's not always just the what. It's not always just the who. I have learned that I'm a better person because of you all. And it's really been an amazing transition. I never thought I could change. And the change I've had since Nothing Personal started has manifested itself in this live tour and seeing people and talking to people. And I just want to tell you that it means a lot to me. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you.